So it's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hi, villains. Welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. If you were going by the thumbnails for this podcast, you'd be late. Well, we'd be late, should I say, because I just realized that they've got 6:45 on it for this. But the team sheets should be out very, very soon. And I wanted to jump on a small little bit earlier to make sure that we catch the team sheets in real time. Paddy's going to jump on when he can. It looks like mental crack over in Alkmaar at the moment. I'm living vicariously through Max and Simon of Villa on tour, plus absolutely everybody who seems to be in that fan zone at Villa oriented fan zone that's there singing their lungs up about Leon Bailey and Matty Cash. I hope you've seen those great videos as well. Obviously, look, Alkmaar, their fans can be quite, I suppose, abrasive at times. I think that's probably an understated word. But it looks like all the Aston Villa fans that are over there safe and that they're enjoying themselves. Seem to be a small bit of a delay at various different airports in the UK today, flying out to Amsterdam. I know certain people who didn't actually, their flights were cancelled and I couldn't actually go to the game today. And I know other people who were due to meet people who had their tickets and therefore are in Alkmaar, can't get their tickets, and because other people won't be able to get in their flights. So hopefully everybody stays safe over there. If everybody was able to get into that fan area, that looks fantastic. But anybody who's over there, if you are watching this, hopefully you do stay safe over there. As I said, Paddy's going to join in a minute. I'm expecting the team sheets to be out any minute now. Usually in the Conference League, the team sheets are out about an hour and 15 minutes before the game. So that's why I jumped on a small bit earlier to make sure that we get there. And knowing my luck, it'll be the one day that they don't release them an hour and 15 minutes early. Because not that I mind filling time. I love chatting to you guys, and I'm going to come to your comments now in a moment. But it looks like we do have a team sheet, and a team sheet does look like it is out. Good lads. By the way, I absolutely adore the shirt that. Oh, what am I sharing here? Here we go. I do adore the shirt because we're actually not going to be wearing the BK8 sponsorship on the front of the shirt. We're going to be wearing the Villa Foundation. So kudos to Aston Villa for that. And if you have that on sale, Villa, I'll buy 10 of them. I'll buy 10 of those shirts. But our starting lineup for today is Martinez in goals, Cash, Diego Carlos, Longley, and Digne. There's the first meltdown, I think, from some people. McGinn, Kamara, Douglas Luiz, Tielemans, Bailey, and Watkins. So it is a semi-changed team, or I suppose really changed team when you talk about taking out your centre-half partnership, and also the two people playing behind Ollie Watkins have been rested as well. But they're all on the bench with Olsen, Marshall, Konza, Traore, Pau Torres, Chambers, Diaby, Zaniolo, Duran, and Dendoncker are all on the bench as well. And just in time, Paddy has joined to discuss that team. Paddy, Diego Carlos on the livery there, on the what you call it, and the team is out. Talk to me about it. What do you make of it?
Look, apart from the two centre halves, there's nothing to worry about. But it is slightly. I'm just a little bit. Oh God! But anyway, look, I think if there was another centre half in there, I'd be happier. But we've just got to trust that he knows what he's doing here now. It's a huge game. A little bit deflated, I have to say, to see those two changes at the heartbeat of the team, really. But look, we know Carlos has played well, and we worried that it would take a bit of time for Longley to come up to the speed. Maybe he believes the European football will suit him. So who knows? In the next couple of hours, we'll get our answers. But yeah, that's the only bad thing, I think, or not bad thing, but the only worrying part of it.
Yeah, for me, I don't think there's much to worry about in the team. People are obviously going to say, "Well, why aren't you playing your first 11?" I'll say it again. That 11 is good enough to go out and win an Alkmaar today. Um, I've been a big proponent of saying it that I don't get the hate on Clement Longley. I just don't. I think people are hating it because he's a loan signing and because he was brought in late in the transfer window and he's not Tyrone Mings. That's fine. And as I say, as my motto is, I'm not here to tell you how to be a fan. I also won't be told how to be a fan myself. My opinion on him is that I don't think he's as bad as people have said in the 2 games that he's played. So his pedigree and his I suppose his career CV kind of speaks for itself as well from that point of view. Might he go out and have a stinker today? Anybody on that field is capable of going out and having a stinker today. So like that's not the crux of it. And that's not what we're here today. We're no one's here to be proven right. I suppose what we do want to do is we do want to see the coherency, and we do want to see that we've got 2 very, very good centre halves in there that on their day and on most days we should be able to go out here and perform well together. Also, I think it'll be understated as well that these 2 guys probably are playing together the whole time in training. So the fact that the 2 of them are playing together today, they should have some simpatico if they're on, let's call it that second team. If they are playing 2 11s in training at any stage, they're likely to be those 2, that centre half partnership on the other side of Pau Torres and Ezri Konsa. But I did initially think that we would have 3 at the back, and we mentioned it yesterday, but it isn't to be. We've gone at 4 at the back. We've gone with a very, very narrow midfield, I think, because I think Bailey is going to play up beside Watkins, and another opportunity, for Youri Tielemans to come up to the pace of it, and we've seen some green shoots from him. So big opportunity for him in Europe today as well, with 3 other strong players in midfield. So he's really gone for it to win the midfield battle, and in there. And I think that's where this game is going to be won or lost today. And we've gone out there with 4 heavy hitters in midfield.
Yeah, it's 4 heavy hitters in midfield, and the one thing you haven't said that I was just sitting here waiting on you to say is that let's not forget that when we lose the ball in general, Kamara slips back in there and makes it a back 5. So, the initial reaction is probably worse than how I'm feeling now, looking at it for a couple of minutes. I have no problem with Longley either. I definitely have no problem with Diego Carlos. It's a strong enough midfield. It's a strong enough midfield to keep them on the back foot. I mentioned in our preview that I would have rather see Bailey in this one than Zaniolo, and I got my wish. And Zaniolo is on the bench, isn't he? It's very hard for me to see that. He is.
Zaniolo's on the bench.
Yeah. So, look, it's an opportunity for Bailey to cement himself back into the team. It's an opportunity for Tielemans, who I have absolutely no problem with. I think he's a really, really good footballer and really underrated. And Clement Longley is a decent player, and he doesn't become, well, some players do, but I don't believe he becomes a bad player overnight. So I don't think there's anything too much to worry about. It's just, they play together week in, week out, and then it changes to this in a game where we really need something out of. So that's the worrying part of it for me.
Wilson Tron asked, did they play together? Did the 2 of them play together at Sevilla? No, they were ships in the night. Clement Longley left Sevilla in 2018, if my memory serves me right, and Diego Carlos signed from Nantes in 2019. So I think that they were ships in the night. I think they didn't play together at all in that instance. So look, interesting one. It's we're away from home. Leon Bailey's getting the start. It's just the kind of, like, I wanted him to start as well. Look, we've got a squad. We need to use it. We need to use it. Did a piece on Unai Emery, and I got quite a lot of DMs afterwards saying he's absolutely brilliant, and we can't question him at all. We just hope we don't run out of steam. And while this is a must-win game or a must-not-lose game, whatever way you want to talk about it, they're all signings there, like that are 20 million plus pound players. Bailey's a 20 million plus pound pound signing. Tielemans, if we were to have signed him as opposed to being a free transfer, is 20 plus million. Clement Longley has been signed for 20 plus million. Actually, I don't think he has. I think he's only been signed for about 18 million, which is still a nice chunk of change. But still, you know, French international there, and somebody who's played 105 times for Barcelona, 15 times for France. So yeah, look, it's we can be worried. Like it's no harm. I've no problem with anybody being worried about tonight's game, or about the setup. But I think that it's a very, very plausible and rational setup to come out. I don't think that anybody's lost their marbles with regards to this setup. I don't think it's anything like the setup that we saw against Legia Warsaw, because there was some square pegs and round holes in that game. Obviously, Chambers, Callum Chambers in that game was a square peg in a round hole. But this one, everybody suits the position that they're playing in. So I think that's systemically we should be able to cover for the people who've come in here, and we should be able to put on a good performance today in Alkmaar. For sure.
Yeah,
I like it. I like
just going back to what you said before that, it feels like about 6 minutes ago, but we're not questioning the manager. We're just giving our opinion when things are
I'm not.
A little bit worrying in your head. That like we're people are here. There's over 300 people in here listening to what we have to say. So we're only saying it because we feel the need that needs to be said. We wanted a strong team tonight. I believe we've got a strong team, and is it enough to go and get the 3 points? I think it'll be very tight, but I think we will.
Yeah, I think so. I still, looking at that now, I think Aston Villa are going to win today. I think there's goals in that team. I think Aston Villa is going to score 2 goals or more in tonight's game. I'm really excited about that midfield. I think that midfield is going to be a diamond. I think Bailey and Watkins are going to play off each other. In possession, it's going to be a diamond. I think Bailey is going to push further up beside Watkins. I think out of possession, Bailey's obviously going to go back onto that right side. We might see McGinn over on the left-hand side, and Tielemans, Dougie Luiz and Kamara are going to hunker down into a back 4, or into a midfield block of 3, should I say, if Kamara doesn't retreat back into the back 4 to make it a back 3 at times as well. So, you know, the positional and the tactical kind of flexibility of that setup for me is what we've seen from Unai Emery teams, albeit that we don't have 2 out and out kind of wide players there. But I'm not too concerned about that, because if Jacob Ramsey was in this team, McGinn would be flipped to the right hand side, Ramsey would be on the left, and you know, neither of the 2 of them are out and out wide players as well, and it worked so well for us last season. So for me, the concerns about the players and where they're playing are certainly not there. Like as I've said before, anybody can go out and have a stinker, and the team can go out and have a stinker as well. We've seen it on Thursday nights previously here. But for me, it's a very rational. It's not a catastrophic setup at all. I think it's actually a really rational setup, and it's a well thought out setup as well. When you need to rest players, you need to rest players, and I think he's done it in probably the best way he could have, because as I say, the Carlos and Longley partnership at the back, you would imagine that over the last 3, 4, 5 weeks, even for the 2 weeks that we were off, when both Longley and Carlos were at home, not on international duty, they would have been playing an awful lot together. Considering Pau Torres and Konsa Pau Torres was away with Spain, and obviously you've got Ezri Konsa in there as well. So I don't think that it's going to be as big an issue. I hope it's not going to be as big an issue, and I'm not as concerned, because we do need to rotate, albeit that there's always trepidation when you change both your centre halves. But in this instance, the rationality behind it, I think, is that these 2 guys have been paired together, tied together for the last 2 or 3 weeks, which makes sense. And we're going to see if that is the case today, and we see how they perform together as well against the lone striker in Pavlidis. Let's take a little look as
Neil, get yourself onto the AZ Alkmaar Twitter page there. They've done you a solid, and they've actually put the players in positions and everything for you.
Well, this is one of the teams that I wouldn't have had a problem with positions with, because I've done a lot of watching of them, because I like a lot of their players. That's why. So, AZ, how do you spell AZ, Paddy?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out who Ibra is, because they've given some fella a debut in the starting 11.
That's Ibrahim Siddiq, I think, Paddy. If I'm not mistaken,
I think
that's what his name is. Siddiq, he's playing probably on the right-hand side. Actually, there he is, I've just brought it up. So they have Matt Ryan in goals, Penetra and Bazoer, 2 centre-halves. Bazoer actually has been playing as a defensive midfielder, or was playing as a defensive midfielder for a lot of his career with Ajax. Really, really talented player, but just seemed to get lost in the weeds in Ajax and moved on. Sugawara, somebody I'm really really impressed with, and obviously Muller Wolf as well on the other side as well. I think he's Norwegian. Two very good attacking fullbacks. Jordi Clasie, as we know from Southampton times, didn't really light it up there, but really talented player. Was really really good at Feyenoord when he was a Feyenoord previously. Sven Meinens, if any of you watched any of the stuff with Michael Statham from Football Aranya, he spoke very highly of him, and I like Sven Meinens as well, due to the, as I mentioned before, his footballing journey at the age of 23, moving back from being a winger and an out and out attacking winger to a 10 to an 8, and now potentially even today he could be playing as a 6, big guy, 6'3". So he's he would have been a bit of a sore thumb out in the wing, as there aren't many big wingers there. But then, as you mentioned, Paddy, they've got two players playing off of Pavlidis up top, and one of them is going to be Ibrahim Sadiq, and then the other one is Van Bredoud. See, when in doubt in pronouncing Dutch names, do a Steve McLaren on it and just roll your tongue in the middle of it, and then you probably might have it right. So I have no idea how to pronounce his surname, but at least I gave it a shot. That was my way of doing it. At least I gave it a shot. On their bench as well, they've got Bruno Martins Indy from Stoke City fame, and obviously he was a Feyenoord player also. Feyenoord? I think he was Feyenoord previously as well. They've got Mark van Bommel's young fella in there as well, and they've got another guy, Poku, as well, who I would expect to see come on the forward line at some stage if they need to make any changes there. A nice little player there as well. So, yeah, we never actually, we did go through the Villa subs, but we might bring that up in a moment again just to make sure. Yeah, the Mihailovic isn't the same Mihailovic. He isn't the same. And Odegaard is it's Odegaard, it's not Odegaard there. But Van Bommel is, that is a very famous name as well. And we're only just missing Sander Vesterveld's young lad who's there, Sam Vesterveld. He's on the books as well of AZ. So, look, it's I didn't even mention De Vet. To be honest with you, De Vet is somebody that they think really, really high of. Essentially, he is going to be playing more so behind Pavlidis, and Van Brederode and Sadiq are going to be wider. So De Vet is going to be someone we're going to need to marshal here as well. He is going to be the guy that you would earmark for like a Bouba Kamara to sit on as well in there. But this is a very good team. They've got threats out wide, they've got threats through the middle, and they've got a threat up top in Pavlidis. So Villa obviously can't go in there spluttering oil or with the handbrake up. They're going to need to be on their game from the first minute, I think, in this one for sure.
Yeah. So Pavlidis is obviously the one we worry about the most. Cut him off. Cut off their goal threat, and we will hopefully have a nice easy evening. So it'll be interesting from the start to see who's left with the job of marshalling him, and I would imagine it'll be a tight man marking job, and I'm going to put my neck on the line and say that Diego Carlos does that job.
Good stuff. Any ideas, Paddy, on a score, Paddy?
I'm going to go 2-1 Villa tonight. I think it'll be tight. I do believe we'll concede. It's going to be raucous. Probably a bit less raucous than if the match was played at 7:45 tonight. So a little bit less time for everyone to get beers on board. Although the Villa fans, as you could see on social media, I was just about
to say, have you seen the fan zone, Paddy? I think it's a bit late for that.
Yeah, but most of the Alkmaar people had to do a full day's work and try and gallop to get there today. So it'd be different for them. But I expect to hear the Villa fans in full voice as they were on the streets of Alkmaar and Amsterdam all day. I think 2-1 I'd be happy with. I think any type of win I'd be happy with tonight. And I just can't see it being any more than tight. I think the tactics will make it that. I think both teams will be quite defensive without the ball, and it'll be a question of who blinks first or who makes the first mistake.
I watched it was a Feyenoord and Lazio last night. I saw some highlights of it, and the crowd were mental last night. I mean, like it would like raucous crowd. I expect this to be the same I expect this to be the same. I expect to see it to be a cacophony of sound and color as the teams come out, and for AZ to be intimidatingly loud, like we saw in Legia Warsaw as well previously. And as I say, I think I think having Legia first and obviously losing was a good bullet for this team. From the point of view of, since we've seen that, we've been a lot tighter in all the games we've played, whether they be in the league or whether they've been in Europe. Yeah, the most there was one was 11 at the back. They played everyone behind the ball for the majority of the game. We still found that goal at the very last minute through John McGinn. Today, I think it's going to be a bit more open. I'm going with Villa win. I'm going to go 2-0 just because you went with 2-1. I was going to go with 2-1. So I'm going to go with 2-0.
Okay, you
Villa
can be the same, like.
I can be the same, but look, Paddy, it's like at the end of the day, no one gets any extra. No one gets it. Even getting the score right, as I said. So I'm just going to say 2-0, and then if I do get it right, I'm going to gloat to high heaven after the game. So that's my tactic. But no, I suppose realistically, a Villa win here is what we need, and I think the team is good enough to go out there and get that win.
Of course.
But it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough one, and Villa are going to have to earn their win tonight for sure.
Neil, while everybody gets their score predictions in as they do, and there's over 400 people on the stream, we want to give away something to keep people's spirits up. So, as I won't make it to Villa Park this weekend, and I can't sell my season tickets back to the club, and nobody has asked for them, I would like to give away an adult and a child. A child is important because, as anyone knows that I've ever given this away before, an adult and a child ticket available for Luton, free of charge. Please do bring a child. You won't get in with an adult.
Yeah, you won't get in if you don't.
So adult and a child ticket must have fan IDs or be able to set them up before you send an email. The email address is villapaddy82@gmail.com. You can also send it on Instagram or Twitter at villapaddy. And I will make a decision by lunchtime tomorrow to give people a chance to listen back to this, and we'll do it on the after show as well. But it's an opportunity to bring a child to Villa Park that maybe wouldn't normally get there, and that's ultimately what we want to do, is create a new fan. So please do email me if you know somebody, or if you've got a friend that maybe is down on their luck and can't afford to get to Villa Park and would love to bring their child. So just send an email. We'll pick one by lunchtime tomorrow, and spread a little bit of happiness over the weekend.
And it doesn't have to be your child, I suppose, Paddy.
Like, you can bring someone else's child once you have their permission.
Niece. Well, don't go robbing children, as I said. And no, Darren says, Paddy's not giving away his children. He's not. Well, I presume you're not giving away your children, Paddy. I'm presuming you're not.
Absolutely
that's
not.
For a completely different podcast. It's for a completely different podcast as well. So look, as I say, Paddy, what was the email address again?
villapaddy82@gmail.com.
villapaddy82. Paddy wasn't born in 82, just in case you're trying to guess what age he is. He certainly wasn't. That's 82 for the year Aston Villa won the European Cup.
Exactly. And some fucker took Villa Paddy before I could get there.
Well, in time-honored tradition, we're going to go down through, get your score predictions in here, and we're going to get your predictions up in lights, because we're going to leave it here before. Oh damn! Give me 2 seconds there, Paddy. I've lost on Paddy. Phil, talk about something. I've lost all my comments for whatever reason. They're missing off my screen.
Have you really? Thomas said we're going to win 8-0, but that's against Luton at the weekend.
And Luton at the weekend, yeah. Paddy's tickets are going to cause a storm for an 8-0
win. That would make someone very happy if they got tickets for that and they won 8-0. So yeah, I can see the comments, but I'm obviously not as quick as you going through them. Do you want me to give it a whack?
I think I've made a little change here that may. Huzzah! Victory is mine. I can see the comments again. I can see the comments. Craig Aylwell going with 2-2 today. Dave Dwyer going with 2-2 as well. Western Oud going with 2-2 as well. Andy Brogan thinks it's a 1-1, but he's hoping for a 2-0. A win tonight in a good game with a 2-0, says Gary Edmonds. 1-1, says Michael Richards. Where are we? 5-1, easy peasy, says Simon Kenny. Niall Lennon says 3-1 to Villa. Yuri to score. I'd love it. Captain Nugget says 2-1 to Villa. Bailey and Watkins. The Welland Valley says 1-1. Beat them back at Villa Park. Bertie W says 2-0. Carlos and Cash. Where are we? Jet says 6-0 to Villa. Chris Main says 3-1 to Villa. Sargentus says 3-1 to Villa with Bailey, Lewis, and McGinn. C Line I says 3-1 to Villa. Ken Hewitt says 3-0. James Carr says 2-0. Michael Parsons says 2-1. I read Micah's already. Derek says 3-1 to the Villa. Ian Whitehouse is saying 5-0 to Aston Villa. Now that would be some result. I can't see that one, but it's as valid a selection as anything else. Lily Tate says 3-1 to Villa. The McBee says 1-1 with Ollie to save us. Michael Huggins says 1-0 to the Villa. Where are we? Matt Parker says anyway, scores 3-1 to the Villa. Dan Ferry says 2-1 to the Villa as well there. Dream Villain says 3-1 to Villa. Hab says 3-2. Going to be a close one. David Curran says 2-0. Darren Healy says 2-2. Kieran says 3-2 to Alkmaar. Jonathan Gledhill says 2-0 to Villa. John Gameson says 3-1 to Villa. Anwar Shah says 3-2 to Villa. Paul Cox says 3-0. Nick Hemming says 4-0. CC says 2-1 to Villa. Rayleigh says 4-1 to Villa. 1-1 again. I read that already. Lewis Fryer says 1-1. Michael O'Brien says 3-1. Paul Welford is saying 6-1 to Villa. Love Bleeds is saying 2-1 to Villa. 3-0 to Villa, says the Aston Villa armchair fan. A quick goal for us, and it could easily be 4-0. 3-1 says Jordy Villan. 2-0 says Andy Brogan. 3-1 says Michael Harnett. 1-0 says David Miller. Ronan says 2-1. Paddy, you're the devil. Watkins to score 4 and a 6-1. Oh, Paul, I read yours already. The Big Matthew says 6-4 to Aston Villa. Steve says 2-0 to Villa. Arley says 8-0, and I'm going to cut it at that. It's, as I say, look, a lot of excitement about this game today.
Just to address this one, I don't think anybody's underestimating the Dutch. I think we're all a little bit cagey. Everybody, remember, is full of what's been going on in the last 3 months, and everyone is just riding the wave, and that's why we're all predicting a win as opposed to being negative about it. And there was quite a lot of draws there at the initial stages. So look, we're not underestimating anyone. We know how important this game is. We win tonight. We win tonight. Chances are we'll go on and win this group, and winning this group avoids the playoff in February. So that's important for us too. So we don't play the team coming out of the Europa League. So it's a strong team. It with the exception of the two boys at centre half, this team could easily go out and play any league game. So, and that's not underestimating the two boys at centre half. They're well capable of going out and winning this game tonight. I just don't like when it's a little bit tinkered with, because it just worries me, because that's when we've had our wobbles this year. So I'm high on emotion from the weekend, and that's why I'm going with a 2-1 win.
Yeah. And as I said, certainly not underestimating this, but one of the things whenever we do our roundup like that, it's a bit of a joke and a mess and a laugh, and a lot of people put in wild scores because they know that I'll read out. I'm like Ron Burgundy from Anchorman. If it's on the teleprompter, I will read it out. That's why people pop them in there as well. But no, this AZ team, obviously semi-finalist last year, obviously second in the Dutch league. I've done more previews on this team than I have probably any other team this season as well. Fully aware of the threat that they hold, and Villa would have to certainly be on their game. But I still hope and expect, and as a Villa fan, want an Aston Villa win today. So we will know more in about 2.5 hours, 2 and 3/4 hours.
Well, a question for you, Neil.
Yes, go for it.
Do they not say A in the Netherlands?
This is a good one. Ron Flower said AZ.
He did, didn't he?
He said AZ.
Is that because of his time in the UK, I wonder?
Other Dutch people have said AZ.
Every Dutch person I've heard has said AZ, apart from Ron Vlaar. And I've seen a lot of the English media the English media are now calling him AZ as a result. But when I used to watch football when I was in school, and we used to listen to Martin Tyler for the first time on a Friday night on Dutch football, he used to say AZ. So AZ is good enough for me.
Look, we'll just call him Alkmaar because just easier. It's just easier. Call him Alkmaar. Yeah. So listen, guys. I forgot to mention it there as well at the start. Oh, that's it. AZ. There we go. Sarge just lived close by before, so there we go. We have it. It's AZ. But this stream will link straight into Dale AVFC status stream after this. So if you guys want to watch along with Dale, I know a lot of you guys stay on afterwards and watch him instead of you guys having to click off and go find his and click on. We'll link directly straight in there, and we will also be back with a post-match podcast as well. I also wanted to just say as well, if anybody here prefers the audio version, we do have an audio version of the podcast. Every single one of our podcasts goes up in the audio version too. Even if you don't listen on audio, please subscribe there anyway. You don't have to listen. You don't have to do anything other than subscribe there. It just fires it out in the algorithm, and that really, really helps us. And again, we're part of the Sports Social Podcast Network. It's Europe's biggest sports podcast network. We signed up from 2.5 years ago, as I say, and I do very little promo of them, but they're great guys, and they've got tons of podcasts on there, and you'll find anything, regardless of what sport you like, you will find a sport on there that will have another top podcast that I hope that you like as well. So give them a shout and go look through their catalog there as well. Some big names in there. David Seaman's podcast is on there. They've got the official podcast of Celtic, of tons of other teams. I'm blanking now on what they have, but there's some really good podcasts up there.
They have a new podcast in there as well. Some guy I never heard before, Dan Bardell. Have you ever heard him?
No.
Yeah, it's a podcast called 1874, or is it 1874 or 1875, something like that. He's on there as well.
Yes, actually he is. He's joined the podcast network there as well, so you can find him there too. If that gives it a bit of credibility, then go look for it. But anyway, we're rambling now. Listen, lads, we will be back again directly on full time for a full-time post-match pod. Really looking forward to this game, as I'm sure you all are too, and hopefully Aston Villa come out victors in this, because it will make things, hopefully and theoretically, an awful lot easier as we go into the 3 reverse fixtures of the first 3 games here as well. Thanks a million for your time, everybody, at 4:30 on a Thursday evening. I know there's lots of things people could be doing with their families at that time. Thanks a million for spending it with us, and we will be back. In the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.
Up the Villa.